Showing off here, and we've just gone live. Fantastic. Hi, my name's Matt.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Richard.
And we've got Richard here too. And in this week's eSellerCafe News Roundup, we're going to be looking at what's been happening in e-commerce over the past week and pick out the stories which you really need to know about, in short. So first off, we've got eBay pushes forwards with TV advertising. Really curious one. Looking forward to discussing this one with you. And of course, remember, this is being recorded live. So if you are watching this live, you can join in with the chat too. And of course, if you've got any comments afterwards, you can let us know in the comments section underneath this video. Amazon is offering discounted Prime for customers on government assistance. How curious is that one? We've got Amazon Prime Day coming up and what you need to know about that. We've got Shopify Updates. Skype receives a facelift. Snapchat maybe adding e-commerce with PayPal, and Apple HomePod versus Amazon Echo versus Google Home. So, Richard, let's go with the first one. eBay and the TV advertising. How's that looking so far?
Well, it looks like they're doing some interesting things. They are actually going directly after Amazon by saying beige is boring and saying color is interesting. So everything about their new TV advertising is about how it is fun and exciting and colorful to shop on eBay. So it's a subtle hint at Amazon, but I think it's a good way to do it without beating them over the head and saying, hey, you guys suck and we are better. They basically are just saying we are just more fun and more interesting to shopping channel to go to. Now, that is on top of some of the things they have been doing since the beginning of the year. They started with a billboard campaign, which also used a lot of color. Now, at the time, that did not tie into anything. It was just different colors, different slogans, and so on. Now it's starting to make more sense, so you can actually see that their marketing agency is earning their money actually by putting it together into a theme. And so we'll see what happens down the road with this color theme. And on top of that, for eBay Motors, which is a large, part of their business here in the United States, they are heavily spending some money on NASCAR broadcasts. There's something they haven't done before, and it's not just little placements, where the maybe where the lineups are, or it's just some kind of, sometimes you see in these broadcasts these really little pieces in the top left-hand corner. They are doing that, but they're also doing segments within NASCAR. So, for example, the pit lane reporter will stand in front of a crash box or a pit cart box and talk about something that's happening in the race. And there's a full, there's a full 1 minute, basically, eBay exposure, I think once or twice per broadcast. Again, great aim at demographics. People are watching auto racing are the ones who are going to go more interested in cars, so they're more likely to buy a car or buy parts for cars or whatever the case is. So eBay is doing something for the money you're spending on the fees that they raised earlier in the year. So I actually think that, yeah, we all complain about fee increases, but it's good for them to do that, And
for once we've advertising, which we know about, that's the key here, isn't it? The other thing, which I just want to chuck another 2 pence in there. Now I can't remember, it's channel 172, which is Quest, or 259, which is Discovery Channel. eBay have also had like ads either side of the TV, the actual program itself. Like the sponsored by eBay, sponsored by company XYZ. They get the insert at the beginning before the advert. Before the program starts, and then as the advert starts, and then as the advert ends as well. So yeah, we got TV advertising here in the United Kingdom for eBay too. Again, specifically focused around motors as well.
Right. What I would like to do is World Cup or advertising. I know it's expensive, but I think they're big enough of a company to reach a worldwide audience in the World Cup. Now we'll see if they will go down that path down the road. I think that would be kind of cool.
I was going to say as well, here in the UK, about I think maybe last year or 2 years ago, eBay had their own eBay Motors British touring car team. Now, I've just checked, because I've not been really following up that much this year. It doesn't seem like they still have that car out there, but that obviously in that sort of motorsport, eBay Motors, the marketing guys there have been really keen on getting the liveries and everything else out in front of people on the car. So it is interesting to see that's a tack they're going with. here in UK, I'm seeing so much with eBay, even on radio. When I'm in the car now, it's like they're sponsoring things on Capital and all these other sorts of, and they're all over social, which we talked about previously as well. So eBay's marketing has definitely ramped up in the past few months, for sure.
Yeah, and they had touring car type of sponsorships here in the U.S. Biggest problem with car sponsorships or like that is that you have to support them with 3 to 4 times money. So for every dollar you spend on the actual sponsorship on the car, you have to spend 3 to 4 times to activate that sponsorship. So I never quite understood that because I didn't think they were doing that. So I think the new approach they're taking in that particular realm is much, much better. And I think that's, like you said, we are all seeing it. So that will have an impact. The more
Absolutely.
buyers that are on the platform, it's better for every seller. I think it just makes eBay, again, a player you have to look at. If you went away from eBay, decided I'm going to put all my eggs into the Amazon basket, I think it's time to go look back at eBay. Forget all the negativity about fees and stuff. They're doing some really good things, and they're bringing some more awareness to the platform.
Mm-hmm. And again, just for like fees, and again, this is a very crude way of looking at it. They're both marketing fees, whether the fees you pay on Amazon or the fees which you pay on eBay. They're ultimately marketing fees. And again, a very broad statement is that they are pretty much like for like. Obviously, there's exceptions to that statement, but they are pretty much like for like. Right. In the interest of trying to keep us on time this week, Amazon offers discounted Prime to customers on government assistance. So, by the way, there is links to all of the topics which we're covering in the video description for you. And Richard, can you tell us more about this one? Is it a huge market? Well, what's the deal behind this?
Well, first of all, it probably comes as a great shock to the rest of the world that's not in the United States, that the United States actually has government assistance programs, because everybody thinks we don't. But we actually have a lot of government assistance programs. Now, what Amazon is doing here is Walmart is known to have a big slice of that market. And basically what happens is if you get what we call here food stamps, which is now called the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, everything has been, changed to be a nicer wording. Then there's also temporary assistance for people who have a need, and there's women who have children, and especially if they're on welfare in other ways, there's additional food assistance available for them. If you fall into any of these categories, you get from the federal government what's called an EBT card. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. I think it's from the state government. Anyways, you get this EBT card, which looks like a credit card, and all your stuff gets loaded onto that card. So if you have an EBT card that's valid, you can then go to Amazon and get this discounted Prime membership. Now, you can't pay for the Prime membership using the EBT, but you can get the discounted Prime membership. And I think the reason they're doing this here in the United States is squarely to go against Walmart, because that is a big chunk of business for Walmart. And without getting too political, over the last 8 years, especially since 2008, forget who was president or whatever, we had an increase in number of people that are on these government assistance programs here in the United States. I think it's somewhere over 50 or 60 million now, totality, that get something.
Wow.
So it's a huge number that receive some amount. Now, some of these amounts are very small because there's states. It's so regulated from the federal to the state level to the local level that depending on where you fall into, you may only get like $50 in food stamp assistance or so, because you don't make enough money. If not everybody also applies for it. So there's all kinds of money available. Some people just don't bother with it, even if they could get it. So Amazon is saying, like, you know what? Instead of people going to Walmart and swiping your card there, why don't you go and we will give you an option to get Prime, because they know that many people, it's secondary income. It's maybe a little bit like in Germany, I think it's called Hartz IV. I'm not sure what it's like in the UK with Hartz IV, sort of supplemental income kind of thing that they do for low-income families. Because so many people are working, and there are so many states that do have requirements that you must work or actively search for work. So there's usually a dual income situation. And why not get some of that market? Yeah, they're not going to get the business from the food stamp market, at Walmart or so, or at Aldi or places like that, but they might get the other business of people needing things that you can't buy on government assistance, like school supplies, stuff like that. So
yeah, this is the thing is that they have a larger inventory base than what Walmart has, and it's pretty blatant that Amazon's going after the food area, to say the least. And of course, where Walmart is maybe not the most cost effective from like the consumer's point of view, Amazon can mop that up. And again, if they got Prime, again in the UK it would be next day or same day delivery, but I know it would be 2-day free delivery. That does make it more affordable. So fantastic news from a consumer's point of view. Even more fantastic if your name's Amazon. Not fantastic if your name's Walmart.
and the question is, I do know that in Germany there's a large number of Hearts 4 recipients. Is this something they might roll out to other countries where there is a larger number of people getting assistance on top of regular income? I don't know what it's like in the UK like that, but this only works in a dual income assistance scheme. It doesn't work in a single assistance scheme, so to speak, income assistance scheme.
Okay.
It's an interesting one. I mean, I don't know too much about it, like with regards our welfare state, other than there seems to be a lot of different things that people can apply for. I honestly don't know too much about it. I know that there's a lot of reports people do exploit it in certain ways. I'm not sure how it would work, the ins and outs of it. I'm sure it could be done, but as like you say in America, you get a card. As far as I know, we don't have that here. Again, it's very sort of the different benefit levels that you get determine like your current social situation, your standing, and all the rest of it. I'm not sure how they'll be able to track it in a way with our current system. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's probably unlikely.
Well,
our welfare state's a mess anyway, and really needs tightening up. There's lots of talk, lots of people shouting for universal basic income and just getting rid of everything else.
Right.
Who knows?
But here's one thing to turn it back into really e-commerce. A lot of people in e-commerce, especially smaller sellers, are buying stuff from China, no name brand things. That is the market right there. If you want to buy a smartphone, cover, you're going to probably buy an $8 cover if you don't have a lot of money. You're not going to go out there and buy the expensive name brand $30 or $40 cover. So if you are in the unbranded business, this is great news, because you now are potentially gaining a whole new group of customers that you didn't have before.
Absolutely.
Now, fast fashion as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Change in tact. Amazon Prime Day. Instead of me asking Richard, Dave, Amazon Prime Day. What it is? What do we need to know about it?
Okay.
It's coming around again. Big day. What's the story behind it?
It is. Well, Amazon Prime Day. Amazon basically went and made their own celebratory day to celebrate Amazon Prime. To give you an idea, it's just like Black Friday, except it's traditionally it's only been on one day or like one period. Black Friday is now like a week-long thing. But yeah, it started back in 2015, and it seemed to just be a way of Amazon reducing prices and trying to garner it. It's almost like Singles Day over in Alibaba out in the East. We now have Amazon Prime Day over here, and it's a made-up event that Amazon have made up purely to try and sell stuff. But it works incredibly well. They launched in 2015. And their Amazon Prime Day for 2015 was bigger than Black Friday 2014, so obviously the 6 months previous, and people bought into the hype. And obviously to do that, Amazon did reduce a lot of prices and no doubt clear a lot of old stock. But third-party sellers also got heavily involved with it and saw it as just as what Black Friday is, a huge selling opportunity. And they did it again in 2016. And they'd increased 25% from 2015 on like-for-like Prime Days. So again, it was even bigger. And it's expected again that obviously this year it will be even bigger. The more people that we have on Amazon, the more sellers we have on Amazon, with more products going up, it makes sense. The maths have to be that it will be a bigger event. Now, as it stands right now, we don't have a date yet. However, traditionally, going off the past 2 years, it's usually the second week in July. And as soon as we do have a date, we'll put a post up on eSellerCafe. But ultimately, it's one of those events which you don't want to miss out on. As we all know, for a lot of sellers, for you watching this right now, the summer months can more often than not be your quiet time. We're about 6 months away from Christmas. It's summer, people are going on holidays, they're spending more time outside, they're not inside buying things online to try and cheer themselves up. So ultimately, Prime Day offers sellers a fantastic opportunity to sell products in is what usually quite a quiet month in the sort of July, August period. And what I would say is, if you obviously now on Amazon, you can, through Seller Central, submit your own lightning deals if you meet the criteria needed. However, you can reach out to Amazon if you have the quantity available and can discount to the level that Amazon are wanting. You could then be featured in a Prime Day event, which is great. However, if you are not, if you don't have the quantity needed or meet the criteria, don't fret, because you can still make an awful lot of money in this period just due to the increased traffic on Amazon. So just by maybe reducing your own prices, doesn't have to be Prime levels, Prime Day sort of levels, but even just, knocking some money off using the special pricing, the strike-through pricing on Amazon, you can generate a lot more sales than what you would normally see in sort of July period. Mm-hmm. Make the most of that advanced traffic on the site.
Now, Dave and Richard, open questions to the pair of you. Should we have an eBay day in September?
I think September is too late. I think July, the reason Amazon picked July is because there used to be a concept, or is a concept in the United States called Christmas in July. And it's a time when retailers get rid of all their junk. And I think that's what Amazon is doing. It's turn your junk into cash days, what I would call this. Basically, if whatever you're laying around that's not turning, turn it into cash. Take Amazon's traffic, like Dave just said, take their traffic and turn it into cash so you can bring new stock in for the important holiday season. I think if you wait till September, I think you're getting too close, because you can't get your holiday stock really, or you can't get your cash turned into good inventory.
Yeah, okay. So ignoring the date and time, but should eBay have their own dedicated day?
Yes,
absolutely. Probably all this would be a good time for it.
The marketing is the key impact. It's you can reduce your own inventory pricing, even have 50%. But if you don't have the traffic, no one's going to buy. But if you create the traffic like Amazon is doing with Prime Day, if eBay were to start their day, a day like that, absolutely. I think it would really help sellers get rid of dead inventory. And that's what this is really all about for all practical purposes, if you look beyond all the marketing.
Mm-hmm. So we don't know the date just yet. We will keep you updated. eSellerCafe.com. There's a link to the deeper topic about Amazon Prime Day. The links to that is in the video description for you. Shopify updates the design and the functionality. So what's cool in this update then, Richard?
Yeah, it's basically, obviously the service has been growing for a few years, and I think they've realized that then, developers were just throwing stuff everywhere, and it just wasn't coherent. And I think they're just kind of putting some unity into everything, which is a good thing. They're also making third-party developers conform to, I think I call it the Polaris design system. I think it's all a good thing. I mean, obviously Shopify is becoming probably now the second biggest SaaS software or e-commerce software cart out there. So, and they continue to grow rapidly. There's a rumor every week that somebody's going to buy them because of their growth, but who knows? The key here is, if you are on Shopify, or if you're thinking about using a service like that, so if you're setting up your own thing with Magento or WooCommerce, what they're doing is going to integrate things. It's going to make life easier. Also for your staff, there'll be more ways to designate staff logins and keeping track of everything. So they're kind of doing an enterprise and level update and a facial level update, if you know, or just unify everything. So it's a good thing for them to do. probably one of those things that after a couple of years of just pure growth, you have to go take a step back and see what does everything actually look like, to a user, and realize that it's a little.
I've got an interesting story around Shopify, which is that I actually used the Shopify site this morning, and they had this wicked, again, really straightforward, but they had this wicked little part of the shop checkout process, which is that they'd recognized my email address, matched it back to Facebook, and I got an order notification on Messenger this morning. So, in fact, I'm not going to put it on the screen because obviously there's all my order details in here, but there was the option to include it in there, and it's saying, here's your confirmation of order, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for shopping with us. Even included the links to the items in there. So 2 lots of 3D print of PLA filament for it, gave me the address, paid with PayPal, then told me, if you have any questions, message us here. Brilliant. We've been chatting about chatbots for a while. Then it's got, now it's got a photo of my house, well, Google Maps on top, saying view order, track shipment, or continue shopping. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So this is what we've been chatting about for the last couple of days, all automated and rolled into one, and that was all using Shopify. Don't know what extension is. I'm sure somebody will ask. Genuinely don't know. It was just literally a tick box option for me in the checkout. Ticked it, and I thought that was amazing. I feel really reassured as a customer because, I'll let you into a secret, the title of the item on Amazon is actually their web address. And I looked it up because I was curious and found it for £4 cheaper. I mean, it was only £50 order, and it was £4 or £5 cheaper off their website. And I ummed and ahed because if I put it on Amazon, I would have had it this evening. And then I asked my question, do I really need 1 kilo of black PLA filament? And do I have enough left on the other roll here to last me like a day? And the answer, brutal answer was, yeah, really, I really do. Let's save myself 4 or 5 quid. And I checked out in this, and I'm really impressed. So I thought that was really cool. Sorry, real life experience kind of fits into everything which we've been chatting about.
And this is part of what Shopify has been doing, is they're integrating more of these stores into one. They're taking all these different stores and saying like a mall. That's really kind of what Shopify is attempting to do. So I think the experiences you went through, I don't think are an extension. I think they are part of the actual system, because I need to really honestly spend more time with them, maybe even set up a demo store, because quite frankly, I read a lot of good things about them just like that,
Shopify is on our list of things to look at as well. It's actually here on the board.
Right there, there you go. So.
I thought it was genuinely cool. Richard, I'll send you some photographs or screenshots of what I received. I thought it was really, really cool. Fantastic, is it? From a consumer's point of view. Mm-hmm. Okay, Skype receives a facelift to match rivals. Now, Richard, rivals, what do you class as rivals here? That's the real question I'm curious on, because I've got Skype open here in the background, and it looks exactly the bloody same, unless there's another update for it.
Well, because they only updated the Android version so far, and all the other ones are coming. It's kind of funny that Microsoft would update the Android before they would update their Windows version on this. So go, to me, this seems like for a couple of years now, I've already, or ever since Facebook Messenger has come out, I had the feeling that Skype is really turning more into a business tool, because when you look at the Office 365 and how they're incorporating Skype into that, and with all the various business and meeting tools, to me, that is where the Skype technology was going. So when I saw this story, I'm like, what are you trying to be, Messenger? I mean, you're never going to be Messenger. You're not going to be WhatsApp anymore. It's just, you've missed the consumer train, in my opinion. And so they're adding things like highlights, so you can do a movie thing, with videos, so people can see it, and you put it. I was like, well, this is like catching up to things you could do on Snapchat for 2 years, or on Facebook or Instagram for a while now. It's like, it just seems odd. And there's really nothing here for e-commerce for all practical purposes, except that they're going to improve their Microsoft bot frame network and bring it more into, I don't know, this seems more like another Microsoft attempt to be relevant in messaging, consumer level messaging, and trying to somehow do that. And they're throwing just enough stuff out there for e-commerce where people go, do I need to worry about it? I don't think so. I think if the Messenger is going to be the future for B2C e-commerce. Now, for B2B e-commerce, yes, Skype might be better. And I think if Skype were to go more into the security and stuff like that, that would make more sense. But it's just a facelift. And I found it funny that the first thing they improve or update is the Android one. And then not even the Microsoft one. I mean, their own operating system.
I noticed it here, like when my Skype app updated, it looks totally different. And
really, I just for the record, I've just updated my Skype. It looks exactly the same.
No, this is on the Android app. It does look very different on the phone. Doesn't look at all different on a desktop or a laptop. But yeah, whether that's a sign of things to come, who knows?
They say they will release the other apps within the next few months. You know,
right?
It's we'll kind of to me it was a bit of a snoozer, but you know it is Skype and it's a big company. It's Microsoft, so I threw it in there.
Yeah. No, fair play.
Fair dues. Next topic, and we've only got 2 topics to go. The last one's really a curious one because I think Richard's been and done a shootout between those home devices. The next one is Snapchat adding e-commerce with PayPal. Richard, what's the story behind this?
Well, it's an interesting thing. There's a web blog called Mighty Signal, and the guy, I guess, digs through, you know, the codes of various messaging systems and anything involved with mobile, and he found SDK information about PayPal and Snapchat, and that just popped up, and it's like, so why is PayPal now in Snapchat? It could be multiple things, you know. It could be to shore up some stuff in the background, maybe with payment that they're looking to do. You know, are they looking to do something with their spectacles thing? But all those things don't really add up to a whole lot of money. So the only thing that would really make the most amount of sense would be that they're finally getting serious about integrating it into some kind of advertising platform or e-commerce, kind of similar to what we talked about last week with that click to messenger ads that Instagram and Facebook are doing. So there is a good possibility here that we're going to finally see something that is really relevant to e-commerce and small businesses when it comes to Snapchat, because obviously we can't do much with goofy little pictures, but adding PayPal is the SDK in there. I don't think they just added it for entertainment purposes. I think there's a reason, and I think the reason is going to be e-commerce. And so it's something we need to watch as we go through these summer months, because whatever they're going to do with e-commerce, I'm sure it's going to be something they're going to roll out before the holiday season.
I remember I was talking back when Snapchat had their IPO, Richard, and we were both saying, why are people buying stock at this price? It's crazy, because it's like such an unprofitable business that they had to do something in the IPO. You know, in the documentation before it was launched, they identified themselves as a camera company, not like an app, which was interesting. So we speculated back then, are they going to go down the productized routes with the spectacles and other things? So yeah, it is curious. Are they going to set up a Snapchat store with, who knows? But yeah, Snapchat have to do something. Otherwise, you know, they can't keep making the losses that they're making. Well,
they lost $2.2 billion last quarter on $150 million worth of revenue. That doesn't, you know, no amount of voodoo economics is going to make that work. You know, at some point.
Yeah, that's just not going to work. The other one is it could just be as simple as being adding the ability to pay friends and family within the actual app itself, rather than anything more deeper. It could be as simple as that.
There's something called Snap Cash that was brought up too. That's a possibility. You know, that's the thing. It could be a number of these things, but they better start looking at making some money. Even if Snapchat is just a technology play to be purchased by somebody, it's still, you need some form of revenue. You know, you can't just go on like this. It just doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Now, changing topic, and I think we might actually be at state of be on time today, which is the Apple HomePod versus Amazon Echo versus Google Home. Richard, tell us more.
Actually, it's Dave.
It's one of my ones. One of my ones, this one.
Oh, yeah. Well, what's going on, Dave?
Was it last week?
To this article is in the video description. I'm actually just looking right now myself. This is why it's caught me off guard. Let's have a look.
So last week, I believe last Monday, about a week ago, Apple, sorry, not Amazon. Apple held their WWDC, their Worldwide Developer Conference, and in the keynote, they launched their Apple HomePod, which, for all intents and purposes, is just the same as a Google Home or an Amazon Echo, and it seems that Apple have spotted perhaps a way that they can enter the market, in that people were complaining mainly with the Echo. The sound quality wasn't great. Like the inbuilt speaker wasn't great. So Apple have come along, and obviously with having Apple Music and Beats and all the rest of it under their name, they've basically created their own version of this and put 7 tweeters and 1 subwoofer in there, and basically made a speaker which is supposed to be much better. But that's exactly what it is. It's basically a speaker with Siri bolted onto the side. And as far as the lineup goes, the Apple HomePod is much bigger. It's much heavier. I think it's 3 times heavier than the Google Home device. And it seems very much like, whilst it still has Siri involved, they've gone after the music market, the sound quality market. But even in that, they're not winning, because it's like, with the HomePod, it will only come supporting Apple Music, which, whilst may have a big user base, the likes of Amazon Echo has Amazon Music, Spotify Premium, Pandora, TuneIn, and others. And Google Home has Pandora, YouTube Music, Google Play Music, Pandora, and others. Whereas with Apple, you're limited to just those artists that are on Apple Music, which is not everyone.
Not really. So not really the only innovation here is gone, oh, look, Amazon have got that. Google are doing something over there. Oh, we should probably do a bigger one and make it sound a bit better, but kind of forgot about the rest of the services. Is that a fair summary?
I would say exactly that. It's not innovation. It's, oh, we can do that too. But in true Apple fashion, bearing in mind that the Amazon Echo is about $180, probably less with Father's Day coming up. It certainly is here in the UK. Google Home is knocking around the $120, $130 mark. The Apple HomePod is being pitched at $350. It's like almost double the price. It is double the price of the Google Home for less features and maybe some slightly better sound quality. But how many people, if you're an audiophile who loves listening to music, you're not going to choose to listen out of it something that's about the size of that, are you? You're going to have a sound bar, a sub, and a proper sound system. If you love music that much, you're going to have that in your house. So I'm struggling to see where this HomePod fits in.
I call it a Me Too product. It's like,
yeah,
hey, it's us. We're here. We have. Apple hasn't innovated anything in a while.
Not really, no.
The last real major innovation was the tablet. Then they stuck on to the high-end tablet market while everybody was going middle to low end. That has taken over now. I still have an Apple iPad 2, which is what now, 5 years old. It's still for watching videos on a plane. It still does the job. Yes, it doesn't have Siri, it doesn't have all the stuff. But I don't need anything more on a plane. Plus, if I lose it or if it breaks, I don't care, because I'm already schlepping.
Doesn't owe you anything anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm already schlepping enough electronics with me. I don't need to add more to the pile of stuff I can lose. And so I think Apple's biggest problem is that they're sitting on $250 billion of cash. Here's a company with more cash than probably 9/10 of the world on hand. Actually, they have more cash than the United States government on hand, and they don't know what to do. And the only thing they can do is say, well, we have this customer base that just loves our product, so we just throw out something, overprice it, and they just go, oh, yeah, we got to buy it because it fits in the ecosystem. Well, ecosystem, but here's
that has been the historic, that is the history of Apple.
Yeah, that is the history of Apple. But here's now the problem. Every one of these devices, Alexa and Google, and even Cortana, which has absolutely no market share, but at least they're trying, they are trying to incorporate search and other functions from a software, and none of that is happening on the Apple side of it. And really, in an odd way, I thought about that this morning. But for Apple to become relevant in that market, they should join forces with Microsoft and somehow incorporate Bing. And but then comes the big thing: who gets axed, Siri or Cortana? Because you can't have both. You're going to have to axe one of the two assistants. Clearly, when they separated themselves from Google, I think that was a big mistake. They separated themselves from the software, and now they're just a hardware company. At least Samsung is a hardware company using Google software. But but if Apple tomorrow went and said, you know what, we're going to eliminate Siri, we're just going to somehow figure out a way to put OK Google into our operating system, I mean, the outcry would be huge. But I don't know where they're going to go with just this hardware. It's all cool. It might be all cool stuff, but you can't. And if you have $250 billion to burn, okay, you can stay alive as a company for a long time. Maybe you can go buy Snapchat. I don't know.
Yeah, not going anywhere particularly quickly with that amount of cash in your back pocket. Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're just rolling the roller coaster, being the spectator, jumping in with a mediocre product from time to time until they spot a decent opportunity to go forwards with. The things like with the iPad, and like we said, what were not the Zoom, the music player, forgotten it, sorry, never in one.
The Echo?
iPod.
Oh, the iPod, sorry.
They were all well timed for the situations which Apple found themselves in. And maybe they just don't see it. And maybe they're just thinking, we've got so much cash in the bank. Let's sit here and tread water, see what goes on, and then we'll pop something out when it's worth popping out. In the meantime, we'll just keep servicing users with
things.
Overpriced thing.
Yeah.
In short. And hopefully, by the time something is unique or worth being unique.
But here's the big danger. I mean, Dave, I think, didn't you just switch from Apple products to Android effectively? And I know some other people, in my second job in the racing world that have done that. And at some point, once you make that switch, how do you get them back? How could Apple get you back, Dave? Let's start with this premise. How could they get you back?
Well, that was the big thing, is that their whole concept was, like Matt rightly pointed out, the ecosystem. Everything just works. And that sort of by fear holds people to the product. Oh, I have to have the iPhone because I have an iPad and an iMac and a MacBook and whatever else, and iTunes. It all just works. And yeah, it does. But ultimately, it's not the end of the world because, like, as you guys know, with a big part of the business, we use a lot of Google things, Gmail and calendars and Drive and everything else. And then all the third-party things like Dropbox and other stuff, that works with everything. So basically, when I made that leap, it was, it took me a few days to figure out how Android worked. But I've actually witnessed no, shortcomings with Android that I was sort of semi-expecting to. And everything still just works. The Android platform is fantastic. And one of the big things for me is how good the Google Assistant is. And that's something which I didn't really have on Apple.
And Siri cannot hold a candle to a Google Assistant.
Not even close.
And from an e-commerce point of view, they're trying to push Apple Pay and all this stuff. Why would anybody in e-commerce do that? For what purpose? It's an Android. That's where it is. It
is, and that's the thing. So when you think about Apple, you have Apple, but with Android, you have Samsung, Google, HTC, LG, or is LG Microsoft? But still, you've got this whole width of other products that are using that same platform, and all of a sudden, the user base just exponentially grows because they're not locked in to one handset forever. So what would it take for Apple to win me back? I have no idea. It would have to be some sort of innovation. But right now, back when I think about the iPhone, I went to the iPhone because there was nothing else on the market. And literally, you can read reports about it now. Like when Steve Jobs announced the iPhone the first time round, engineers at Google who were working on the Android mobile platform scrapped everything because it was nowhere close to what Steve Jobs had with the iOS. And they had to start again. And that's why there was that lag of about 2 or 3 years where iPhone was really the only smartphone of the time. But then, that's the thing. They haven't innovated really since. And that's
I just want to chip in on this one. Is that I have Android on my phone. I have iPads in plural. Fantastic. Desktop software, Windows. Server software, Unix. In all those instances, for me personally, they all fit the instance or the purpose exceptionally well. The one thing which I won't do is actually own an iPhone of any shape or form after owning an Android device. And I've been through a little bit of pain with the Android devices. Some of the updates have been a little bit ropey. So Dave, as a little tip for you is that if there says there's an update, you don't need to fix something which ain't broken. So don't fix it. And for something which was supposed to be labeled as a stable, it just works kind of thing, which is the Apple iOS. That's been a lot of bloody updates on that iPad recently. I think there was one other one which I put in there yesterday. So that is kind of curious.
It seems every iOS update just slows down the device like tremendously. I mean,
it's enforced upgrades. That's straightforward. That's what it is. So you have to move to the next device. Yeah. Anyway,
and the sad part is Apple has too much money on hand for Amazon to buy, so therefore those two can't get together. It's like,
indeed. Right, gents, we're going off topic pretty quickly, chatting about devices. So it's time for us to wrap up. Let me just recap what we've been uncovered here with you today. eBay is pushing forward with the TV advertising. We were chatting about motors. And also in the United States and here in the United Kingdom as well. A very curious one for you if you are on the budget end of products selling on Amazon US, because Amazon is going to offer discounted Prime membership for customers of the government assistance. I think that's a really, really curious one. Richard, you're going to have to keep us. You might as well set it in your calendar because we'll see what a positive effect that has for in the future. We spoke about the Amazon Prime Day and the crucial question, should eBay have an eBay Day? Should it even be called eBay Day?
I don't know. That's a good illustration. eBay Day rhymes.
There you go. There you go. Shopify Updates. And we had a chat about their chat messaging system, which I thought was really cool. And Richard, I'll send you some photographs and we'll tweet those and we'll get them out as an article on eSellerCafe shortly, I'm sure. Genuinely impressed with that. So Shopify doing a good job there in the background. Skype receives a facelift to match rivals. I've just updated Skype here on the desktop. Looks exactly the same. But then Dave said on the mobile app, they've been and updated it there. Maybe they've made it a little bit less laggy on the mobile devices. We'll see.
So far, so good on that one.
So far, so good. Yeah, mine lags terribly, but then I do have a long history of chat conversations on Skype because I do use it pretty much exclusively. We then spoke about Snapchat adding e-commerce with PayPal. PayPal's turned up in their SDKs. Could be as simple as the ability to pay friends and family, or it could mean something a little bit deeper, something there for us or you as e-commerce business owners. Don't know. We're going to have to watch the space on that one. And finally, we spoke about the Apple HomePod versus Amazon Echo versus Google Home. And then we went very quickly off topic onto phones and I had to bring ourselves back on topic. So if you would like to know if you'd like to know more about any of the topics which we've been discussed today, the full articles are over on eSellerCafe. Underneath this video, there is a link to each of the articles which we've discussed. If you have any comments or suggestions on anything which we've been covered today, we'd love to hear from you. You can do that as a comment underneath this video or over on eSellerCafe.com. And I would like to say a massive thank you, not to Dave or Richard. I'd like to say a massive thank you to you for joining us for this week's live session. We hold these every single Tuesday. And on that note, it's time for us to go. From myself, Matt.
For me, Dave.
And for me, Richard. And by the way, it's Mondays on these.
Monday, is it? Ah, I've not had enough coffee. That's my excuse.
There you go. Have another cup of. Every
what we'll
month.
say as well is a special shout out to Richard, who joining us on his birthday to come and chat e-commerce with us today. So happy birthday, Richard. Let him know down below in the comment section. Wish him happy birthday. And with that said, guys, we'll see you next week, same time,
which is a Monday.
On a Monday.
On a Monday. Cheerios.
Bye, guys.
Bye.